everyone! Today I'm making a special summer treat. So as we're getting towards the end of the summer, I really don't want it to end and I'm not ready to get into my fall recipes yet. It will come soon enough, but for now I still want to enjoy the summer and I thought why not make these delicious banana ice cream sandwiches. So I always loved ice cream sandwiches and these ones are no exception. So I make my own banana ice cream. So that means that it's like an ice cream but with no actual dairy, and it's delicious and it's made with bananas and other things. And I'm going to make these delicious almond flour cookies. Those are super simple. I used to make them all the time, and recently I've been making other different things and I just remembered them and thought they will be really delicious as an ice cream sandwich because I used to put them in the freezer and eat them frozen. So they're just one of those cookies that taste delicious out of the freezer. So to make them, I'm going to use almond flour. They're 100% grain-free and gluten-free, and as I mentioned, they are extremely delicious. So I'm going to start by measuring 2 cups of almond flour. So almond flour is the almond it's white, so there's no skin, so it's a little bit different from almond meal. So these cookies work best with almond flour. So 1 cup and then 2 cups of almond flour. I then need 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and I'm using a special baking soda here that's gluten-free as well, because if I'm making a gluten-free cookie, might as well have all the ingredients gluten-free. And I need 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. I'm going to mix my dry ingredients. That's it for the dry ingredients. And I'm going to add some extra virgin coconut oil, and I've actually heated it so that it became liquid. So I have 6 tablespoons of virgin coconut oil. So I'm going to pour this into my mixture, and then I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. So this adds a lot of delicious taste. My oven is ready. Did I mention that I set my oven to 350 Fahrenheit? And now to sweeten it, I'm going to use honey. And I actually love the taste that the honey gives in these cookies. So you can use 4 tablespoons of honey. I'm actually going to make mine with only 2 tablespoons of honey because I'm making ice cream sandwiches and I'm going to put some banana and ice cream in between those cookies, and that's pretty sweet. So I personally, for my taste, I find that 2 tablespoons of sweetener is enough, but traditionally these cookies have 4 tablespoons of honey, so please feel free to use the full 4 tablespoons. So now I want to mix all of my ingredients together well, and it comes together very easily. And my last ingredient, I'm going to add the chocolate chips, of course. So I'm going to add in 4 tablespoons or 1/4 cup of dark chocolate chips, and I'm using these 70% cocoa content chocolate chips. They're very delicious. They add sweetness, they add a delicious chocolatey taste. They are perfect. Often what I like to do is that I can even mix it with my hands to create a dough. They're actually very easy to, but yeah, I wanna make sure that I have a sticky dough. So it's perfect. I will bring my baking sheet here and I will form my cookies. I've lined my baking sheet with a silicone mat, and I will use a 1.5 tablespoon cookie scooper, and I want to make my cookies as equal as possible so that I can make sandwiches with them after. So I press my dough into my cookie scoop. I put it on my sheet. Usually I make these very roughly. I don't really care what they look like. They're just delicious, but now it's actually important that they look equal because of the sandwich making. So let's see. They're a little bit crumbly, so it's giving me a little bit of a hard time, but as long as I can shape a cookie and that they're all the same size, that's what I want. And usually when I bake them, I don't flatten them too much because they bake in little rounds and I like that, but now I actually do want a bit of a flatter cookie. So I'm going to sort of press them with my hands, but holding them to make sure that they don't fall apart. Sometimes it's different the way you measure the almond flour, and because we're not weighing it, it's always a little bit different how much you actually get in it. So it's possible that if it's too crumbly, you can add a little bit of water, but very little at a time, because you do not want a dough that is too wet. This one is working well, so I'm not going to add any water this time. Okay, and I want to make sure that I have a little bit of chocolate chips in every cookie. They're very fragile. If I would have put the 4 tablespoons of honey, it's possible that it would have stuck a little bit better. So here are my cookies, and I'm going to put them in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. We'll check them after 10 minutes. While my cookies are baking, I'm going to prepare the banana nice cream. Okay, so now let's make the banana nice cream. So you can make this with a lot of different flavors. I have frozen 4 very ripe bananas. I've cut them into slices and I've put them into a freezer bag. And it's very important when you freeze your banana to lay the pieces side to side, as I have done in this bag. So you can even do that on a baking sheet and freeze them as such, and then you put them in a bag. It's really important to not just gather them all at the bottom of the bag and put them in a pile, because they will all freeze together and then you can't take little portions. I'm actually using all of these bananas now. So as I mentioned, it's 4 bananas. So I'm going to put them into my Vitamix. So a high-powered blender works really well. You can do it with a food processor also. It's just a little longer, but it works also. And why am I using 4 bananas? Well, in my Vitamix, mine is quite large. So if I'm using too much of a small quantity, then it takes longer for the spinning to happen, for the blending to happen. So I'm going to use 4 bananas. I'm probably going to have a little too much for my actual recipe, but I can use this. It's delicious to eat just like that. You can keep it in the freezer, so there's no problem with that. I'm going to mix in 2 tablespoons of almond butter, and it works really well with any nut butter. It's also really delicious with peanut butter. I'm going to use almond butter because I have my almond flour and I like to keep the theme going. So I'm using 2 tablespoons. My measure here is only half a tablespoon, so I'm going to do 4 of these spoons. I'm being generous with my measurements of almond butter because I really love almond butter, and it's also going to help the mixture to become very creamy, although the banana does that on its own. I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and that's completely optional. I just really like the taste that it gives. Okay, so we're going to blend it and we'll add the chocolate chips after, because we have chocolate chips in our nice cream and in our cookies for double the pleasure. And we start blending. Increase the speed gradually. I'm going to mix it with a spoon. It looks really smooth, but just in the middle I have some pieces that I've not blended. So sometimes you just need to move it around with your spoon. Okay, it's pretty much done at this point. It goes really quickly when you have a big quantity of banana, because sometimes I try to make myself self-servings and I'll put 1 banana, 1.5 banana, and then it takes a really long time because I have to always play around with it. But when you put 4 bananas like that, you right away instantly get a nice soft serve. And at this point, you can either put it in a container with a cover and put it in the freezer. And then if you leave it, it becomes like real ice cream, like hard, like real ice cream. I actually love the self-serve texture. That's my favorite. So if I was making this to eat as is, I would just eat it right away. So you have both ways. For now, my cookies are not quite ready, so I'm going to transfer this to a bowl and I'll keep it in the freezer until I'm ready to assemble my cookies. I forgot to add my chocolate chips, such an important part. Although it's delicious, I did taste, and it is delicious without the chocolate chips, but why not? We're making a summer treat. I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of dark chocolate chips, the same from before. And I just mix them in. I could have also blended them together, but the chocolate chips would have gotten broken up, which would have also been very delicious, but I want the big pieces. I've removed the cookies from the oven. They were in for 8 minutes, so I'm glad I checked them. It's because I'm actually making them a little smaller than usual. So for this size, 8 minutes at 350 is perfect. They're just a little bit golden. I can see that they're cooked, but I don't want them to get too dark. I don't want them to burn. So I'll let them cool down a little bit and then we'll assemble the sandwiches. So my cookies have cooled. I've put them on this little cooling rack and they are now perfect and I'm ready to assemble. I put my ice cream, my nice cream in a container and I've put it in the freezer. It wasn't in there for very long, so it hasn't hardened too much. But it's important that if you did leave it for a few hours and it became really hard like normal ice cream, then you do want to take it out in advance so that it's actually easy to scoop out. So I will take one cookie in my hand, and also my ice cream is pretty soft, but it's actually good to layer it. And then I put a spoonful, and then I take my second cookie and I sandwich it. Oh, it looks so good. My cookies are still a little bit warm because I couldn't wait. I wasn't patient. So I'm going to make them quickly and I'm going to put them back in the freezer. Should I taste this one? This is heavenly.